Strange Loop is unbelievable.
My God.
We've got tickets, haven't we, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah. We're taking Ray for Christmas. Lovely.
Okay.
All right.
Headphones there if you want them.
My headphones don't stretch, but it's fine. I don't really need them.
I don't need them.
I don't need them.
I can hear you.
It makes us up.
You want to hear how you're coming across?
No, I don't care.
I know I'm coming across brilliantly. The Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist Watchers and Just Like That, the Sex and the City Reheal, with me, Deborah Frances White, and my very special guests, Syrus, Lowe and Lee Knight. Season 2, Episode 7, February 14th. Hello, I'm Deborah Frances White, and with me are my guests, Syrus Lowe. Hello, Syrus.
Hello.
And Lee Knight. Hello, Lee.
Hello.
Syrus Lowe was recently absolutely brilliant in a play in the West End that I saw and have not stopped thinking about, called Best of Enemies. Genuinely brilliant in it. But you can also catch him on Netflix as Treason, which I have not seen, but I'm now immediately going to. And Lee Knight, who you can see on The Northwater on BBC iPlayer, on Netflix on The Last Letter from Your Lover, and in the upcoming Hamlet, the movie with Ian McKellen. Welcome to And Just Like That, Season 2, Rewatch, Reheal, Episode 7, February 14th. How are you feeling overall about this episode compared to previous?
Well, I think it's really appropriate you've got us on because I think it was the gayest episode. I mean, it was literally for the gays, I think. So I'm... Yeah.
What's the biggest thing that's driving you saying that?
Well,
about this particular episode?
Well, the word fisting.
And Anthony's breadbasket.
Oh my!
I was talking about the breadbasket.
I assumed you were talking about the breadbasket.
The breadbasket.
Yeah, it was a breadbasket episode.
And Aidan.
And Aidan, just Aidan being Aidan.
I mean, I think that was yeah.
Bring Aidan back for the gays.
I think so.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't disagree. What's your history with Sex and the City? Can I ask, lads?
Well, when you kindly asked us to come on the podcast, I was thinking about my history, and I remember I had all the DVD box sets. So I had every box set of every series. My favourite series was Series 4.
Classic,
and I'll never forget them when Samantha moves to the meatpacking district.
Oh yeah,
and she's on the rooftop with the drag queens, and it's just classic New York. So I loved the series. The films were the films, and just
the films were the films.
The films were the films. Yeah.
And looking back on that drag queen episode, I think actually now it's the framing of that is, let's call it, problematic.
Is that when Samantha was screaming over the balcony that the drag queen's waking her up?
Yeah.
And she said, if you don't get that thing out my ass, I'm going to shit on it.
Yeah.
That episode?
I think so, yeah.
I think
so. But
it's worrying that I remember that.
Yeah, it's just the way that the transgender sex workers were framed were not.
Right.
And I think I cannot be too clear about this as transgender sex workers.
Right. Yeah.
But
yes, of course.
I know what you mean in terms of the whole of the landscape felt very alive and connected in New York. And yeah.
And I also wonder, looking back on it, whether it was me actually appreciating seeing some people of colour in it.
Yeah.
No matter how they were represented back then.
Yeah. I've watched a few episodes recently just to sort of tie in from here to now. And I'm surprised actually there were people of colour, just Miranda's neighbour who would come in and help her with Brady would be a black woman, or, Miranda would be dating a black woman, or there's so many more black and brown people than I remember when I look back. It's just no feature was made of it. And and Just Like That. And obviously if you made Sex and the City now, you wouldn't have 4 white leads, but there were lots of supporting Margaret Cho style characters who were just being themselves and being people in New York.
But I think that's the thing. It was supporting, wasn't it?
It was always supporting.
It was barely supporting.
Yeah.
It was barely, but the featuring of the black and brown people in And Just Like That. How do you think race has been handled in Sex and the City OG versus And Just Like That? How do you feel about all the racial stuff in this new series?
I think Series 1 was ridiculous in terms of that stuff, but I feel like in Series 2, they are getting more of their storylines which aren't specifically related to their race. And we had that thing with the cab, which is like, okay, that was New York 10 years ago, I hope. because he can just get an Uber now. But I think like the Wexleys, who I'm just loving, their storylines feel just like about human beings rather than being about their race.
We all love the Wexleys.
You particularly, you're in love with Lisa Wexley.
Well, she is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, I think. And
her wardrobe is just unbelievable.
Wardrobe in this.
But she's an incredible actor.
Yes.
Do you agree?
I think she's a wonderful actor.
I think she's a very, very good actor.
And I think she is perfect for this show.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think
agree.
she's really perfect for this show. I think there's too many other... I mean, we discuss this every week, and I bore everyone with this every week, but there are too many characters. You can't keep up.
Yeah, I did hear you. I was listening to the other episodes, and I heard you. I think you were discussing that with Jess Regan. There is sometimes you kind of they put a bit of a web out, and then you sort of come back to say Miranda's situation. They did that quite a lot in this episode, I think, where they were casting a lot of nets, and it got a little bit confusing. I almost forgot that Miranda was on a date in this episode, or was on her date, and then Carrie was going to have her date with Aidan. It was all I couldn't keep up with it. There was a lot happening, and I just wanted to see one or two rather than.
There's so much happening. I'm going to do my recap. In this Valentine's Day special, aired in July, Carrie meets Aidan for dinner, and just like her 35th birthday party, she gets stood up in the restaurant, not knowing he's in the place next door. Anthony takes a stand-in hot fella bread delivery man on television, and you can see his penis clearly through his jumpsuit. Naya stays home and makes herself a souffle. In a typical Naya doesn't really get a plot situation. Seema books a massage for her and Carrie, and they're unaccountably seeing couples only. Charlotte eats a hash brownie, gets rushed to hospital and realises both her children are ghastly to her, and she just lets them walk all over her, something that we've noticed every week. So she's going to be the only woman in the world to take a 20-year career break and walk back into her old job. Lisa Todd Wexley becomes obsessed with controlling her son's girlfriend, who she thinks is taking liberties. Che almost literally saves the cat, the screenwriting term for redeeming a character, by finding a stray dog and taking their old job at a veterinarian's. Miranda asks out a honey-voiced audiobook reader who specialises in Jane Austen, but when she gets there is not as romantic as advertised, as the sexy reader has unaccountably locked her cat in the bathroom and put the kitty litter in the living room like no one has ever done. And finally, Aidan wants to come home with Carrie but can't step over her threshold because bad memories live in the apartment where he put down some floors, leading Carrie to go and stay in a hotel and cheat with Big for the first time, and knock down a wall, leading Carrie to have an I can't marry you meltdown. So that is everything that happened in Sex and the City this week.
So much.
And I know they're up against it time-wise. Aidan changed his mind very quickly, I thought.
Very quickly. So let's get into it.
Yeah, he did change his mind quite quick. Yeah.
Let's get into it. Okay. All right. So, well, let's start with Carrie. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. It opens. Well, sorry, not the meat and potatoes of Aidan.
Yes.
Of the meat and potatoes of Anthony's storyline. They're different meat potatoes. But it opens with Carrie checking her email, and Aidan has written back. She immediately shuts the laptop. She's like so scared to look at it, and slowly opens it again. And she discovers he's invited her out on Valentine's Day. What did you think of this storyline?
Before we go into that storyline, I have to say something that is really bugging me, because when that was happening, what I can't get over is why there's a yellow shelf behind her headboard. Have you noticed it? Oh my God, that's all like...
Yeah, Lee's noticed it a lot.
There's a yellow... So in past episodes, when she was in bed with Thursday Guy, her podcast producer...
Also a Thursday.
She was in bed with him.
Yes, she only has sex on Thursday now.
She only has sex. She was in bed with him, and she's got a double yellow shelf behind her. So her head is slanted. You can't sit up. So he was set up, and it only covers half the bed. So she can never sit up in bed. No, because there's a yellow shelf that's full behind her. And it's bright yellow. It's so weird. And now I've said it, that you're going to see nothing else. So I couldn't focus on the email she was sending because I just thought, who put that there? It's bugged me from episode 1.
Yeah.
Is that just me?
Right. No, this is an important decorating note. And
I told you I was going to bring the gay to this. I'm going to bring the not sophistication.
Disappointedly.
There's more to come.
Right down on the table before we can even get to love, decor.
Yeah.
So she accepts this invitation to Valentine's Day dinner. There's a discussion between the girls. Does he know it's Valentine's? Well, if he does know, then it's romantic. If he doesn't know, well, his girlfriend can't be saying, "Well, you going out with someone else on Valentine's Day?" I don't think so. So clearly he must be single. They're all assuming.
Yes.
Love that conversation because I love the way that women deconstruct. Do gay men deconstruct as much as women? If you got an invitation like that, would you sit around going, "Do you think it means this? Do you think it means that? Could you listen to the voicemail?"
Yes, we've been sharing a house it's a gay house, and I would have not known the answer to that before moving into this gay house.
You're sharing
that we're
a gay
in.
house at the moment.
Yeah, we are.
How
We're in
many
London.
texts do you have to deconstruct?
There's a lot, and I think, and because they're all single, and we're obviously not. There's a lot of conversations of deconstructing it, when you're just making your coffee in the morning, and there's a lot. Do you agree?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. So yes, I think possibly even more so.
There cannot be a more so, Lee. I
mate,
defy
okay.
you to
All
find
right.
a more so.
Maybe move into this gay house and see for yourself.
But Charlotte, I'm going in and out with Charlotte. I'm going in and out. But I like the way she was driving that conversation. And it felt classic Sex and the City.
It really did.
Yeah.
It really did. And I felt this episode, we're coming back into it. I felt we're coming back into it.
I think what's so good, I was trying to figure out whether it was like, it's a sitcom, right? It's a sitcom. Is that?
Yeah, it's like it was a comedy drama. It's becoming much more sitcom
It's
now.
much more, the text, it's got to be much more sitcom-y. But what I think it does really well is you fall into these moments of hilarity, very sitcom, almost popcorn, and then it hits you in the gut with some pretty lovely moments.
Yeah.
Do you know? And I think in this episode, I know I'm derailing a bit, but there was some lovely moments which really got me, and I think it kind of keeps us going with that. It seems to know what it's doing, so it knows, it's going to serve you those moments, and then it's going to get you. And I think this episode that happened quite a few times.
Yeah, I felt feelings, I think probably for the first time in this episode, where I've been enjoying watching it. I've been enjoying catching up with it, but I haven't felt much, which I used to in the old one. And I don't know if it's the Aidan coming back, but it does feel like we might be getting back on.
I think that was a beautiful moment on the stairs. I know you said it turned around quite quick. It did. But that moment, the way I think you've got two really wonderful actors, and I think
Sorry,
go on. I think Sarah Jessica Parker's a fantastic. I just think she's wonderful, and that moment with them on the stairs, it got me.
Did it get you?
It did, because I think you could see the pain, you could see that coming back in, that history, and I just in that moment I did.
What did you think of the moment where they first saw each other, where he was just suddenly on the street behind her and they turned around and then she went to him and they hugged?
Well, I thought it was lovely and gorgeous, but they definitely made him look like a superhero. He was in some kind of like, tied round the waist, black, big-shouldered, greaseback hair. I think that was a choice.
Has to have been.
Yeah, he looked a bit like Keanu Reeves.
Somebody on Twitter said Aidan Shaw seems to be back from the Hunger Games, and he's just something of that. There must have been. It's such a fashion show. It can't be accidental. It can't be like, oh, what have we got that fits him? It's a fashion show.
But he said he lost 20 pounds.
I think he was joking. He said, I've lost 40 pounds since you emailed me 5 days ago.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think she says, you haven't changed. He's like, no, I've lost 40 pounds since you emailed me, i.e. I wanted you to see me like you used to see me, but I think that was just a gag.
But you know what I thought was rude? She said, you haven't changed, and he didn't say anything back.
You haven't changed? Yeah, no, I really haven't. Comparatively, I would say I've done really well.
But do you think the fashion is on point this season? Do you think they're like...
It's really a mixed bag for me.
It's a mixed bag.
Lisa Todd Wexley is amazing in every scene.
That red.
Oh,
I mean, her
Valentine's Day red, and also the red for the Met.
Oh, when she was peering through it to walk down the street.
Where she's walking down the street.
That was stunning.
Yeah, unbelievable. But I think the thing is with Carrie, she always used to look like she was one of those women who did put stuff together from her wardrobe, whether it be she was given something because she was a journalist and then she'd mix it with something she'd found in a charity shop and something probably from her mum years ago or whatever. And she used to put these looks together. And yes, she's a much more wealthy woman now. She was, always trying to pay her rent back then. But it's very layered for me now. And I worry that there's so many long layers. And I don't know whether it's an insecurity or whether that's their feeling of, she's got to have changed because she's in her 50s. But I know a lot of women in their 50s who don't dress that differently from when they were in their 30s. And maybe they're not showing as much midriff now. But
she had a tunic on from, I think it's a designer called Marachi Life or something, this beautiful tunic, but then she had loads of layers over it. So you couldn't actually see the beauty of that designer. It was quite layered.
What do you think? What do you guys think about the fashion? Do you think it's...
Well, I appreciated the little pigeon handbag from J.W. Anderson with the little chewing gum in. Did you see that?
You need to be the constant fashion expert on this show.
I mean...
We need to get you in every week just to talk about fashion.
Well, did you see that pigeon? How did you notice that? It kind of popped up.
How could you not notice that she was carrying a full pigeon?
A full pigeon. I think that's J.W. Anderson. And it's, it only fits like chewing gum and maybe some coins in.
It evoked to me the little duck bag that, do you remember Big bought her a duck bag and she said he doesn't know me. And he took her to a party where all the women were carrying one of these.
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah.
And it evoked that. But it was a sort of more down to earth. That was a sort of De Monte duck, and this was a sort of just the average New York pigeon you'd see on the street, just made into a bag.
Just something that popped up. You said about her having a lot more money now, which she does because she was going to write a check for £100,000.
Oh, they're all too.
But you look at her bed sheets. Look at her bed sheets. That's. I don't know what's happening in her flat.
Yeah.
The yellow shelf.
People spend their money on what they want to spend it on.
Do you think
look at her sheets. They're like IKEA sheets. And it's not acceptable.
Too low.
No, I've got IKEA sheets, but I'm not Carrie Bradshaw. But have a look.
If you had Carrie's money now, which seems to be just multi-millions, you would definitely have the highest possible thread count, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. I like the fact she's got old wood in that. She's got, she came in this episode, she put her keys down, and there was this moment where you saw this old wood. I love that old wood. And then this piece of art, which was probably Biggs, and it's just stunning, and it had a light above it. It was just, and I think they're making a point of how her life's changed even in her apartment, because you have got those sheets and a yellow shelf, and then they keep showing this beautiful art because she's obviously moving stuff around from where she was before, and it's got quite an eclectic mix of money. And
she's gone back to her place, but do you think they're all too rich now? I feel like someone was saying this the other day that they feel they're unrelatably rich. Well, they're all so rich.
Well, the fact that one of the high drama moments of this episode was the fact they went to a spa and they couldn't have their massages because it was couples only on Valentine's Day, or in a scene that we felt was about 20 minutes long.
It's way too long. Oh my God.
Going back to the clothes question, I felt like with Carrie, every episode there was like one statement outfit. And it feels like they're trying to have a statement outfit in every scene. I think that might help, go to the unrelatable thing. Yeah.
But also, they are all, I think they've always been not really, well, there's always been this comeback series, as I felt they weren't relatable from the films as well. It kind of went a bit mad. Their wealth went a bit mad. But Miranda, I don't get that vibe from her.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with her at the moment. And
she's in very strange clothes.
She's
in strange clothes because she's in strange. She doesn't. They had that scene. It doesn't know her sexuality. What am I? Am I lesbian? But I just think I can't keep up with who Miranda is.
I think I know why.
Go on.
I think the directing of the episodes is taking up so much time.
Because she's directing.
She's requested no, I'm joking. I actually think she's started very clowny at the beginning of this series, and I feel like she's slightly coming back to herself in the last episode.
I really hope so. Do you think that the brunch talk about is Miranda a lesbian? What is she? That to me really shows that Sex and the City has not matured very much for all of its attempts at being contemporary. Because this really evoked for me, and as regular listeners know, I love an Easter egg. There was an episode where she dates a character played by the guy who played Tag in Friends. She basically goes out with Rachel's boyfriend Tag in Friends. Tag is...
Oh, who we met?
Yeah, we
What's
met
his name?
him. Yeah, we met him
at a
a
wedding.
few years ago. Yeah,
Stop it right
and
now and
he's,
tell me everything.
he's still as gorgeous.
Is he?
What's his name again?
Married with kids, but
Married with
still
kids.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
He was
Well-
wonderful. You would chat to him quite a while, actually.
No, just
I
because
noticed.
we're both actors, we had a lot of in common.
Yeah. Heard that before. Yeah.
Okay, so you know Tag from Friends.
I mean, no. We met him at a wedding. We had
Did
some
you
drinks.
change numbers?
I think I swapped email addresses.
Yeah, you
We
probably
swapped
did.
email addresses.
Yeah,
You've got
it's all
Tag's
coming
email
out
address.
now, isn't it?
Excellent.
I've got
Well,
Tag's email address.
I'm going to need to know more about that after we stop recording.
So am I.
And I'm going to need to know the email address. I actually did text the number for Aidan just to see if we get anything back. Because I thought, well, hold on a minute, how does she know it's Aidan? And I looked and screenshot the number on Now. And so I thought, I'll text just in case. I just texted, I'm here, where are you? Just to see if we get anything back, because it wasn't the normal 555. But nothing yet. Nothing yet.
Okay. Well, we might, by the end of the episode, we might...
I'm hoping Aidan's going to text me back, is what I'm saying.
Can I just say about Miranda? So she wakes up in pajamas that hearts all over.
Yeah.
I've got a shirt like that.
No, I love it.
Did you think about my shirt when you saw
I
it?
know I was focused on what we were doing today, but I loved the pajamas. But Miranda in those, and then she can't get up in the morning, and I know she's tired. But it's like, this is Miranda, who is a lawyer who now can't even wake up. She's got heart pajamas and
hates
can't.
corporate law suddenly.
Who suddenly but she can't even wake herself up. It's like she's lost, like just because she's sort of, her sexuality is fluid, or what, she's trying to find who she is, even though none of her friends said it doesn't matter, just whoever you like. It's great. They're trying to put her in a box.
Why are they doing that? Well, this is what I was saying about Tag, your new best friend.
Eddie Cahill.
Eddie Cahill, your new
yeah.
best friend, whose email you have. He was going out with Carrie, and he was bisexual, and every time a man walked past, she'd say, "Are you checking him out? Oh my God, are you gay or straight?" And she couldn't get her tiny mind around the idea of bisexuality. And this was in the noughties. And when most people, I think, understood what bisexuality was, maybe I actually misremember, because remember Phoebe from Friends had that song for children that said some what was it? Some men are like men and some men like women or something. And then it was, and then there are bisexuals, but some just say they're getting themselves.
Oh, yes. I remember.
That was pretty much how bisexuality was treated then. But surely with this new coat of paint, which is so extravagantly being layered over the top of Sex and the City now, if we understand inclusion, surely we should have come to a place where you don't say to your friend at brunch, "You only like women now." And she goes, "Well, my last partner was non-binary, actually, and I was just drawn to that person, so I don't know who I'm going to be drawn to now." And they're like, "You need to find out, are you gay or are you straight?" It's like, well, obviously neither, because she has had lots of relationships over the years that people they've known, including a long-term marriage with a man, and now has fallen in love with somebody who's non-binary, but is clearly open to women. So why can't she just be pansexual?
Yeah, they're not there yet, are they?
Well, I have thought about the diversity of that writer's room, and I don't know what the answer to that is. But also, when I think about the lived experience of those people as well, wanting to pigeonhole and put people in boxes, which I think people still do. I think people who are very open-minded can still feel safer if they can just know, okay, that person's that and that person's that.
I think they do. I think they like to know. But what if the box you're in is, I just need to meet the person? That people kind of just have to accept that. And maybe Charlotte's never going to, because Charlotte likes neat corners.
Charlotte likes neat corners.
Charlotte's like, this
should we
is
talk about
messy.
Charlotte?
Let's talk about Charlotte. Yes.
I mean,
I'm enjoying Charlotte. She
I am.
went and got the condoms.
Oh, that was the snow blizzard that just happened, and Carrie's outfit, which, come on, it's one of the best she's pulled out. That coat going down the street like something out of War of the Worlds. Puffer. I had a coat like that from Zara once.
Did you?
Not like similar.
I don't think hers is from Zara.
No, but I totally appreciate that. I thought that outfit was stole the show for me. It was unbelievable.
It was
I don't know how it fits in her apartment. I don't know how she suddenly, had it ready for that blizzard. But sorry, back to the condoms. I know that was the point.
Yeah, but Charlotte, you're liking. Do you feel her children are not? I just think they're so horrible to her, and she doesn't. Neither she nor her husband, Harry, says to the children, could you just not speak to me like that? If I'm going to get you condoms in a blizzard, can you ask me nicely to go and get you condoms in a blizzard, given I am your mother and it's not a traditional mother duty? You should have taken your own condoms. I'm being very cool about everything, given she's still a teenager living under her parents' roof. There are lots of parents that would be like, I don't really want you having sex yet. She's of the age where I don't think it's massively controlling for a parent to say, I want to have the conversation about with you whether you're ready, which you're refusing to have. And the kids are just so mean to her. Like, she wouldn't allow any friend to talk to her like that.
I thought that's just what kids are like.
Is it?
I mean,
they're teenagers.
they're
aren't
teenage, very clearly extremely privileged,
Power of
spoiled. Like, didn't she sing the song Power of Privilege? I don't know. I know what you mean. I think they're just at that age where
They're going to be vile.
and they hate their parents and they hate.
Rocco's a model now, so they can be as
Did you
vile
say
as they-
Rocco?
Rock's
Rock.
a model.
Rocco's
Rock's given up
McDonald's child, I
modelling.
think.
Rock's given up modelling. Rock can't be asked
Retired.
now.
Rock could go full circle. I think Rock's going to come back.
You think Rock's going to continue to be a model?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, what did you think about her taking the hash brownie and having the revelation?
Well, go on.
No. I missed the brownie for some reason. So then when she was having the pretend stroke, I was quite confused. And I was like, why is this happening? And then obviously we had the whole, my life flashed before my eyes.
But it's difficult because her face, this awful? Her face doesn't move much. So
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out what was going on. So when he was like, she said, oh, this is happening to me. And he was going, oh, are you having a stroke? Nothing was happening to her face. It wasn't. The only thing that moves on her face, and I am not shaming anyone who gets.
I think you are.
No, I'm not. I'm just pointing out her eyebrows move quite a lot because I don't think a lot else does.
Do you think that my eyebrows will then move in relief? Because if you use those muscles and the only thing that will move are the eyebrows, you end up with quite overactive eyebrows.
Yeah, she's got really overactive eyebrows.
I think she's got
100%.
overactive eyes.
Yeah, I mean,
I think,
yeah.
but I think Kristen. I don't want to. But Kristen Davis. I think Kristen is having a great time playing Charlotte.
She's having fun, isn't she?
She's having a lot of
She's
fun.
having a whale of a time, and
Yeah.
she's getting lots of fun things to do, all comedy, but lots of good fun. She has the pop brownie, which is not her style. She's normally very measured.
Yeah.
We've seen the other smoke pot before, but I think did Charlotte smoke pot the night that they all went out, the night that Carrie got broken up on a post-it? You remember they all went out and they had a doobie? I think it was actually maybe only Samantha and
I think
Carrie.
Charlotte didn't.
Yeah, I think they got caught by the cops before that
Yeah.
happened. That, of course, would now be fully legal in New York City.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
different times have changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was quite nice to see her have this high revelation that she was just becoming a momager, as she said, and a
Momager.
pimp for Anthony, because she'd gone into a card shop and found, because apparently Anthony couldn't find any other handsome men in New York. Just
Yeah.
ring a fucking modelling agency.
I know,
And just
yeah.
say,
Cheap.
I'm
You
going
wanted
on
someone
Drew
cheap.
Barrymore.
That's fine.
Well, he said to her, pay him anything. So I
Yeah,
don't-
she said, I'll give you $300.
yeah.
Didn't she? And
Would you do it for $300? If you were in a card shop, would you go on Drew Barrymore for 300 quid?
go on. That's another reason why it's a gay episode. Drew Barrymore, gay
Barrymore.
icon. I mean, how do we forget? Would I do it for $300? Yeah, probably.
Cyrus,
Probably.
if you were asked in a card shop to go on Drew Barrymore for $300, would you?
Well, like Giuseppe, I am a true artist, so I would not have done it for $300. In that tiny outfit.
You have a reputation to uphold. You are one
I
of
don't.
Britain's finest actors.
And I don't.
And
So I'd do it.
Lee, I'm not saying that you're not a fine performer and don't have a reputation to upkeep, but I could just see the truth in your eyes. You would do it in a heartbeat.
300,
You'd do
300 quid. I'd
You-
get one of those.
Dollars.
$300. I'd get a pigeon handbag for that.
You'd,
From a chewing gum.
you do it for 50 quid. Look at you.
Think of yeah, exactly. Think of how many boxes of condoms that Charlotte could buy for $300. It's a lot.
The condom.
Listen, good day using condoms.
Oh, maybe this was this the episode where Miranda goes home to her husband, and then was this the wrong episode?
Yeah.
Was that the episode before?
Then this week's.
Was that this week's?
No, this week is all Valentine's Day. She's
Oh
gone out,
yes,
she goes out with
sorry.
Jane Austen
Yeah,
lady.
yeah. No,
I've done my recap.
He doesn't listen.
He
He doesn't listen.
I was just, because
Thinking about the pigeon handbag.
It was
You're
because of the
marrying-
condom situation,
Yeah,
and then
no.
I was thinking when she found
That
the
was enough
condom
whole
wrapper, so there's a
whole
whole.
other episode.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's go into some Miranda. So she's unable to be boxed, her sexual orientation, although she's clearly pansexual, because she left Steve for somebody else who was non-binary. It's just madness to try and force her now to be a lesbian. She fancies this woman who is an audiobook reader for Jane Austen. Seems like a niche, but fair enough.
Yeah.
That's okay. And she's
Interesting home setup.
she's standing in a red suit looking all glamorous, and I think this was about the difference between reality and fantasy, and I think they are trying to theme them again without saying the theme, without the voiceover voiceover, but the theme is not being on the same page. So I think the literal page here is Jane Austen, but the page she seems to be on is romance. Jane Austen, you would imagine her having a 4-poster bed and it all being very courtly.
Candles and
Yes, and all the evocations of Jane Austen. But when she gets there, the woman's got cat litter out and has to go and dry her flannelette sheets
And then ask for the quarters.
yeah,
greasy hair.
yes,
That was the first thing you notice. Nothing wrong with greasy hair, but not on a date.
not on a date
Not
in
on
that
a date
in that
in your
capacity.
home.
Valentine's Day.
On
On
Valentine's Day.
Would you have left? Do you think she did the right thing by leaving?
It depends how hot they were. I think I think it depends what you're up for. Because I think you can let some no sheets and cat litter
You
go.
don't always need sheets.
I think if you're there, but she was up for even though she, found her really attractive, she was dressed up. She looked beautiful.
Yeah.
She wanted you could just see it. She knocked at the door.
wanted the fancy.
She definitely did.
Especially after being with Jay, who was quite,
Horrible.
What was horrible? What?
But it was
was
all
going-
a bit like joints at home and lots of friends. It was all quite student-y, Jay, and that was that had its own appeal.
The cameo
But-
in bed. They were doing the cameo.
no, that was ridiculous.
Come
But
on, that was
absurd.
ridiculous.
Nobody would say goodnight to their partner and then start going,
And then say, hey, dude.
Like I've done cameos for Choose Love at time. And as Tom knows, I'll do them for charity sometimes. But what I don't do is say, night, Tom, night, darling, night. And then both of us close our eyes. And then that would seem demented.
Yeah, that was. But
Hello, Alison. Oh, happy birthday from the guilty feminist. Like that would be. Like Tom would be like, "What are you doing?"
But you've said before in previous episodes of this that it's like the writers aren't talking to each other or communicating
They are
or
not.
nothing's being vetted. Miranda can't sleep if Jay's doing the cameos. That doesn't
And
make
that's
any
already been
sense.
a problem between them that they're keeping different schedules. It doesn't. You would just go out to the other room. You just go
Yeah.
night. Oh God, I forgot my cameos. I'm just sorry. I'm going to get out of bed and go out to the living room. I'll try not to wake you up. That's what a normal person would do, right?
Yeah.
It would just be routine. You wouldn't do it right when your partner was trying to sleep and without telling them, without going, this is a pain, but do you mind me doing 5 minutes of cameos? Let's just say that.
Yeah.
It's just such a strange
But how do
thing.
you,
But-
you're obviously being a writer of your caliber, how is that not vetted? How does someone not say...
No one would do that. I don't understand. There's some writing in it that just really
some
does
clunkers.
make me go, you wouldn't have to work very hard to get where you're going. You just haven't quite got there. Even them, Aidan and Carrie, sitting in separate restaurants, when Carrie walks in, she says to the maitre d', table for two, Aidan, sure. And he says, sure, and shows her to a table. And I recently was in the wrong restaurant in New York, had arranged to meet a friend, went in and said, table for Sweeney Lawless for two. And they said, they looked down and the place was pretty empty, but they still looked down and went, no, there's no reservation. And I was like, well, it's definitely the street and it's definitely the restaurant name. And I said, I'll text. And they said, are you sure there's another branch of this restaurant 10 blocks up? And I was in the wrong one. And they told me that. So to me, that's not great writing. Actually, if she'd come in and just taken a table, the maitre d' was busy, and she'd said, don't worry, I'll just sit here, and found herself a nice table, I would buy it more. Or to me, they're just not quite doing those pieces of work that
I
say,
agree.
one we discussed with Jess Regan, I think was with the invitations went out to the party and nobody replied.
Right.
It just, all you need to do is they were invited for the wrong night. I buy that, but I don't buy, no one has once checked the RSVPs to make sure we know how many people are coming for a sit-down dinner. It's not possible. That's just not how...
There's definitely lots of clunkers in this, I think.
Yeah, I feel like you just, even the
Also,
name
she was dressed, like, look what she was wearing, that gorgeous blue ruched sleeve dress. Like, that restaurant, she didn't... there was all businessmen in that restaurant. So surely the maitre d' would have said, would
have said, oh, we don't have a reservation.
Yeah, it was kind of obvious she wasn't in the right place by what she was wearing, I think.
It was a slightly strange one, because they'd gone on and on about how there were no tables. No one could get a table for Valentine's. The Wexleys had to pay for a reservation. It was a really big thing. Carrie could only get a table at 5:30. Carrie walks in, the place is absolutely empty, and it's Valentine's Day. And I think we were meant to think from that, Aidan's not booked a very nice restaurant.
We were. And I think we were then thinking, how is he doing in life?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's...
And then you saw his jacket, you knew he was doing well.
You knew he was doing well. Yeah. And then they sit, because he's in the red booth and he was in this beautiful restaurant. But I think for me, when she went in the restaurant, I didn't think it wasn't going to be there. I thought, oh God, this is just some, $9 Chinese buffet.
Right.
It just sort of, I think that, and it was making me think, oh, he's not doing well in life, or
he's deliberately booked a cheap place.
He's deliberately booked a cheap place, that he can't afford more, something like that. Yeah, that's what went through
Maybe
my
that's what we were meant to think. There are quite a lot of bumpy storylines where you just go, with a little bit more work, you can have the same impact. Miranda says 35-year-old straight Miranda would stay, but 56-year-old lesbian Miranda. Well, I find it kind of insulting to bisexual and pansexual people that they cannot use that word. But I also don't think 35-year-old straight Miranda would have stayed. She would be the last one to stay.
Yeah, she would have been
absolutely razor sharp. And she put up with no shit. That's my memory.
That's why.
But I think, I feel like in this episode, Carrie was the first person to refer to her as lesbian Miranda. Because didn't she say lesbian Mirandas a lot?
That's right.
But I wonder if that's an example of they're in the writer's room. Look at me talking like I'm a writer. I am a writer. I've written stuff. But they're in the writer's room and they get a good line. And even if the line doesn't completely make sense, they go, well, that's a good line. Let's go with that line. Do you know what I mean?
I guess.
Because it's funny and it works.
Yeah. And sometimes, to be fair, like I have a show where I talk about finding my bisexuality. It's like a stand-up storytelling show. And sometimes I say to the audience at the top, I'm sometimes going to refer to myself as a lesbian in this moment, because it's maybe not how one identifies overall, but in that moment, it's important to allow yourself to say, this is my lesbian side. And if you're talking about yourself, really, other people and their ideas of what should and shouldn't be said probably should go away. Oh, hold on, I've got a WhatsApp. Oh, I thought it was from Aidan. It's from Steve. That's disappointing. Not Steve. No, not that Steve.
Not Aidan.
Wouldn't it be great if it was like that Steve?
It'd be great if it was from Big.
Oh, that would be scary. Yeah, and if whether it was from the actor or the character.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just texting an address. Miranda wanting the thing, but I don't think Miranda would ever have stayed for that shit.
But that's what I mean.
Miranda
I think
also in this episode said, and it just the way she said it just was a bit clunky. And I think Cynthia Nixon is a really incredible actress.
Yes,
she's incredible. And I think sometimes with clunky writing, as you know, you have to really, as an actor, you have to really work hard. A great actor can make clunky writing or bad writing lift off the page, and I can see the actors working sometimes hard, and I really listen to the text and I think, God, I can see that on the page, and that would just be really hard to say, because I don't think it's some of it is well written. I mean, when Miranda she said something like LGBTQIA, and it just didn't.
No,
it was
no
like
one would say
no
that
one would say that. And then 2 seconds after, she said tally ho. And I know she was sort of joking, but I was like, I did.
Jane Austen.
But
she tally ho's fun, but because it's Jane Austen, she's saying tally ho because of Jane Austen.
I didn't know that.
But I don't think in real life, my queerest friends who are the most inclusive, yes, on a post, they'd say LGBTQIA. But if they were just talking to me casually, they'd say LGBT or LGBTQ.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
they're not going to say IA to blah, 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 blah. It just, I'm not saying no one does, and I'm not saying no one has ever.
No, it was the way.
It
It
just
was the time.
seems
She was with a friend.
unlikely.
She was with a friend.
It just
You
seems
don't say-
unlikely
you
that
know.
Miranda would say that.
But just to think about that and think about some of the race stuff, do you think that, because, this program has a wide audience worldwide and in America, do you think they're trying to actively educate people
Oh, it's like an educational
who
show.
aren't in the know?
Yeah, it's
100%.
like a TED talk with drama.
100%.
Good clothes.
Look at what happened with Series 1 and just like that. The race stuff was, it was almost, we would laugh because, Miranda going in and talking to her professor about, remember the whole thing about her hair, and do you remember that? And it was like Miranda had never met a black person, living in New York, never met a black person. It was like, they've softened that a bit, but I actually wrote down it was that LGBTQIA. It was educational.
Yeah.
It's so much of it.
Yeah,
is.
maybe just say queer or like something like that. That's what my friends would say. Queer. We'd say, oh, it's really hard on the queer dating apps or something like that. We wouldn't say.
So who's in the writer's room? That's what makes me think who's in the writer's room.
And who's overwriting? Because
Yeah, who's overwriting and whose writing is allowed to be interrogated or questioned, which makes me think about why these things are slipping out, that it doesn't take a lot of brain work.
But also whoever's writing Anthony's lines, he wants more kiss me than fist me. That was genius. Whoever's writing his stuff is, it's hilarious.
He's got semantics right.
Is Mario
Hilarious.
Cantoni right? Because he's a comic. I wonder if he actually pitches his own lines
Yeah, wouldn't
sometimes,
surprise
because
me.
the way his intonations
Yeah.
are so brilliant.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps saying more Anthony because he's the funniest thing in it now.
It's just
by far.
And he's just always at Charlotte's for no reason, like making breakfast.
I know. Shah.
Yeah. Oh, it's the whole thing with Drew Barrymore, that whole scene. It was just genius. It was just wonderful. And I think, maybe he does write his stuff because it was sort of a whole different thing.
It just feels so uniquely him.
Yeah, 100,
really,
yeah.
really wonderful.
Yeah.
Can I ask about the whole Drew Barrymore? On comes this young man holding a breadbasket with a baguette stuck out the front like a penis.
Yeah.
And then Giuseppe himself, the hot fella in question, like would that be allowed on daytime television? I don't think it would.
Well, no,
Fully
they would
fully see the penis through the denim.
That would have been approved by, go on Drew Barrymore, that would have been approved by so many people. I've just done some filming. The amount of people that have to approve anything and everything that goes on your clothing, I think they would have, but, it was...
It's funny for
It's hilarious, but it was just their reaction when when she says it grows. How big does the basket get? How big is it going to grow or something?
But I think the answer is no.
it.
They wouldn't be allowed, would they?
allowed to
Daytime
do
TV,
that.
you could see the full.
I could draw it.
You can't. What do you mean if the police wanted that penis and they asked, could you describe it?
Yeah.
You could do a full identikit drawing.
I could do the drawing. I could do the
shading.
What's the line? The shading.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the identity lineup. Yeah, they don't normally pick out a penis, but I think that's.
But if they did, I could do that.
Cyrus would step in.
Yeah.
And if you are listening and you are from law enforcement, Cyrus is volunteering for that job between acting roles. If you can catch him, he's a busy man, but every now and again, he's wrestling like any actor, and he'll do that happily.
And then we had the guest appearance from, who's the American comedian who's on Drag Race? He's a judge on Drag Race. He comes out at the end after they filmed the Drew Barrymore show. He comes out and he says,
yes.
and so another reason it was a gay episode, they were just chucking
where
the gay
he
references
says,
in.
"I love your bread, and it also looks good in a wool pant."
Yes, also looks good in a wool pant. He's a comedian. Oh, Ross.
I didn't recognise him. I don't know who he is.
He is. He's lost a lot of weight. He's lost a lot of weight.
Well, he's lost 40 pounds since Carrie asked him.
Yeah, exactly. But he's a judge on Drag Race.
Oh, is he?
So
is that the joke?
So he's.
I'm not much
huge...
of a Drag Race person.
Okay.
I know. I seem like I would be, and occasionally, of course, watch it with friends. But I'm not a devoted Drag Racer.
Okay, yeah. He's a judge on that. So they popped that. Yeah. So
now, do you know why that was extra gay, double gay, triple gay? Because only someone in fashion or someone gay speaks about fashion in singulars. Most people would say wool pants, but someone's truly fashion if they say a pant, a trainer, a jean.
Yeah.
And I love it. I really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it.
That was great.
Hello, Guilty Feminists. This is Deborah. That's DF Dubs. We're recording more live episodes and you can come and see us. Please do. We are live at Soho Theatre in London in August on the 11th, the 12th, the 18th and the 19th. That's August 11th, 12th, 18th and 19th. Get tickets now. We're live from Chichester on the 21st of August. Coincidentally, I'm also doing my play there. I'll tell you about that more in a minute. And we're recording episodes of The Guilty Feminist and Global Pillage. That's a deep cut. We're bringing it back for one episode only at the London Podcast Festival on Saturday the 16th and Sunday the 17th of September. For tickets to any of these shows, go to guiltyfeminist.com and click on live shows. I'll be in Chichester, as I mentioned. Did I mention? I mentioned, I think, that I've written a play called Never Have I Ever. It will be on at the Chichester Festival Theatre at the Minerva for the whole of September. Like I'm a proper playwright. I feel like Neil Simon in the 70s. It stars Alexandra Roach, Amit Shah, Greg Wise, and our very own Susan McComber. It's about money, sex, power, politics, identity, and running a restaurant. For tickets, go to cft.org.uk. You can also get ad-free episodes via Patreon, Apple Podcasts, or Acast Plus. And if you're passing iTunes or Spotify, you felt like leaving us a 5-star review, we'd love you forever. You can review any individual episode. If you've reviewed us before, you can review us again. It helps other people find the podcast, and it gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling, and it gives us a lovely, lovely buzz. So we'd really appreciate it. Also, if you're not following or subscribing or whatever it is that you have to do, click that button. It really helps us. And now back to the podcast. I'm glad Miranda walked away from the cat litter situation, although I would have also said no sheets. I would have just said, Miranda's got money. If I'm Miranda, I would have said, you know what? I'm going to book us a nice hotel. Yeah. I would have gone on booking.com.
Yeah.
Are they sponsoring this episode?
I mean, the gays.
But that's where I would have gone. But if they're listening and they'd like to, please.
I mean, gay men wouldn't care about the
I don't think you should make like sweeping judgments.
Well, I'm talking from.
The smell of cat litter though is
disgusting.
Quite disgusting.
Yeah.
Could you get it up with cat litter in the room
for $300?
Again, depends who it is. Again, it depends how hot they are. It depends who it is.
Let's have a conversation.
No, but it depends who it is. You can't say in the moment. You know, if Giuseppe was there and there was cat litter in the room, I wouldn't care if there was dog poo in the room.
You wouldn't be able to. Sorry. No. So would you, in New York, not just literally go on one of those apps, say, look, I found a really nice hotel room around the corner. It's booked. Come with me right now. Yeah. And then I get to be Mr. Darcy. Like if I've turned up in the hot dress, I save the day and I go, I get to be Mr. Darcy, who's dismissive of the environment, as Mr. Darcy would be, because you know full well Mr. Darcy would not have sex in that room. And he would call a carriage and, take you somewhere else.
Would you call a carriage?
I would call a carriage, yeah. I would have turned myself into I would not be Miss Bennett, I'd be Mr. Darcy, and I'd get the carriage and I'd get out of there. And I'd say, never take me to your place again.
But I think she was over it. I think when she stood in the cat poo and said, I've stood in cat poo, and then did the whole, then found out she didn't put the sheets on, picked her shoes up, was shaking out the litter. But she was shaking out the litter, and then she was hitting the menus, the takeaway menus with the, and the cat litter was going all over. I think Miranda in that moment was she did not want a hotel.
That was the nasty moment. Like your dirty cat litter trainers, you're hitting the food menu with.
Disgusting. No, I'm out of there. You're right. You've lost all interest in sex or sexual activity.
Because if that's going on,
what else
with her shoes? What's going on with her other clothing items? If there's cat litter strewn everywhere,
how clean are those sheets going to be?
How clean are
flannelette sheets as well?
How clean are those sheets and everything else?
Not sexy at all. Okay, so so Miranda did the right thing.
Can I just say on that? Yeah. I thought that was really beautifully written and directed and delivered, that moment where they introduce Aidan, where she's on the bed and she says, 6-year-old straight Miranda would do this. But then when she says at the beginning, Aidan's a good guy. I said, do you think he stood me up? I said, no, Aidan's a good guy. And then right at the end of that conversation, Carrie gets a ping on her phone. She says, he's texted me. And she says, told you, good guy. It was just so like that moment of their relationship, the trust in that relationship and the knowing of Aidan, she was so sure. It's how she delivered that, told you, good guy. And then they just clicked off. I thought it was really beautiful.
And that's a good point, because actually something that is really strong is that the friendship between the three of them, that they've kept that really well, I think.
Agreed. How much do you miss Samantha?
I'm not loving Seema. I think Seema felt like a Samantha replacement, and I'm just not feeling Seema. I'm not missing Samantha, and all I will say is if they're bringing her back, which are the rumors, she better be doing something good.
Well, she's only coming back for one telephone conversation on which she could record on her own. Yeah. So I don't think they're ever going to be able to be in the room together again. I think we're going to see Samantha once a season on one side of a phone call that she has not recorded with Sarah Jessica Parker. I don't think she can possibly really come back after everything that's been said and done publicly.
I'm.
But you don't miss her. You think if we had more Anthony, you wouldn't need her.
Anthony, Lisa.
Yeah.
It's too many, isn't there? And
Naya and her chocolate souffle.
They look good.
It did.
Do you know what I really liked just on the chocolate souffle? They were setting us up for friends going, you're going to be okay. No. And she was going, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to make a chocolate souffle. You're probably not going to make a chocolate. No, I'm going to make a chocolate souffle. And I thought, oh, she's going to be crying and needing help. I loved the fact that she was like, oh, this is great. It's absolutely great to be alone with a chocolate souffle. I was so pleased they didn't go, then she's melted into a puddle because she really was very lonely. I loved the fact that a woman sometimes needs some alone time with the chocolate souffle.
I think that there's too much going on, and I would love, like that scene with the massage that went on and on and on. And it was bizarre because I was like, you're two rich women. It's Carrie Bradshaw, who is, she's a known writer. And also, why can't you have but also, why can't you have
couples massage?
Why can't just have a massage? Why can't exactly?
I would have loved that.
But they weren't. It wasn't like they, like you had to do anything with each other. They were just on two different beds. It was just that. And you're covered in a towel.
She said, pretend to be a couple. No one would make you pretend to be a couple. Let's just say they're friends.
Also, when she said Yelp,
going to turn the money away.
She said, I'm going to report you on Yelp. And I thought you would say, where's the manager? Come on, Yelp. These are two, this place is expensive. I
just don't understand why they just say, oh, sorry, okay, fine. We could put a curtain up if you prefer. They wouldn't. There's no way.
But the weird thing was it went on so long. A New York
company would go, you have to pretend to be lesbians for us to massage you in the same room. That's just not a thing.
I'd do it for $300. But I do.
It's again them not doing the work.
But they're not. It was an overwritten scene that
you just wouldn't.
Imagine putting that time. Imagine putting that time for the episode into the relation. These wonderful scenes that they do churn out. These. Imagine putting more time in their relationships with less actors and more. I want to see more of them together. I want to see those powerful moments amidst the funny jokes and stuff. But Seema seems to be she does seem to be a bit of a Samantha character where they're giving her some
all the penis pump stuff.
But it's really, I think she's got a hard job delivering some of the lines. I don't think it's easy for her.
I think she's great.
Yeah, she is.
But I think you're right. I think she's sort of like Samantha, but not quite Samantha. I would have preferred that scene if they had been shown into the room and gone, okay, this is what it is. It's Valentine's Day. That I would believe that they've set it up as a couple's room. And now the two of them are naked being massaged.
And that would be quite empowering.
But having the conversation about, it's always couples, if you're single in this town on Valentine's Day, but we're getting to see them have the massage and it's quite funny and they kind of enjoy it. But also the assumption that they're a couple, you could still have that trope, which is Valentine's Day is wearing if you're single. You could still have that trope, but let them do the thing rather than just stand and complain about the thing, which is unbelievably implausible. Nobody would say you have to be a couple to have a massage.
As well, Yelp, complain on Yelp. Like she's ever been on. I don't. What is Yelp? It's like an online complaint.
It's a review. But it's a review.
But
site,
also, it could have been a moment of them being naked. Like it could have been a body really lovely moment of not that we would have to see it, but suggesting of two women. I don't know. It could have been empowering, kind of celebrating the female body because they in a massage room together. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I think there was a lot more to be done there by going there rather than complaining about it. But it evoked for me a scene where once Miranda and Carrie were mistaken for a lesbian couple on Valentine's Day. Does anyone remember when?
No.
It was in the film where they go out on Valentine's Day. They're both desperately single. And it's just like all of these, like the card shop, all of these red and pink things hanging from the ceiling. They're having dinner and the waitress says, for you and your girlfriend, and they laugh. And then it's the scene where Miranda tells her that she said to Big, you're mad to get married. And Carrie absolutely falls apart and they have a huge falling out because she never told her. And she's like, I've been over and over why Big would have stood me up at the altar and all this time you knew this and you never told me. That is set in a restaurant, Valentine's Day. And the whole thing is it's horrible being single on Valentine's Day. They agree to go out together. It's very much an Easter egg in my mind, even though I sometimes think the writers have no idea of the back catalogue the way I do.
I agree.
That's why they need you.
Che literally saves the cat, except it's a dog. So they're trying to redeem Che's character because viewers widely think that Che is something of a narcissist. In this episode, Che sees a stray dog, takes it back to was it a vet or a shelter or something between the two?
It was a vet. Was it like a rescue? Vet?
Shelter,
but can we just jump in with how Carrie lives in New York?
Yeah.
But yet a dog runs past her and she screams like it was a rat.
And
even
she thought
though
it wasn't a rat.
It wasn't a rat. It was a dog.
They
Did
have
you see
big
the
rats
si-
in New York.
Oh, what, that like the size of a dog?
I've been told
Where
some of
have
them
you
New
been
York
in?
rats.
Oh my God, you've been going to the wrong place in New York. No, come on. She screamed like it was like, it was clearly a dog. But this is also the same person, I know I'm totally diverting, who they lived through a pandemic. She's a writer and did you see how when she was trying to set up her Zoom, she was putting a box and then her laptop on it and then the laptop fell and it was like, this is cat. And she was so nervous and her laptop fell again and she was like doing her hair, playing with the curtain to get light. I'm like, you're a writer who has been on Zoom, would have been on Zoom so many times, but yet she's scared of a dog and can't seem to set her laptop up in 2023 for a Zoom. Sorry. So back to Che and the dog.
Some of it is just hilarious.
Who said
that
would be a great idea? Like, you've never Zoomed before. It's on a box. Maybe you can't find a box to put.
But yeah, what do we think about? I think it's meant to be a vet because the receptionist says, don't be bringing me any more of these lame ass dogs that don't have, you
rats.
Can't pay for.
The rat that look like rats. They're as big as rats.
So I think it was a vet. But are we now going to see Che work for a vet? This seems very implausible to me because Che had a Netflix special.
Don't you know what it's like, Deborah, to be an unemployed actor? You take what you can get.
But they had a comedy special. If you're at that level in comedy, you can always get gigs.
Yeah.
And it's not a thing that if a comedian has a sitcom pilot that doesn't go, we've all got sitcom pilots that haven't been. Every comedian has that you immediately go, I'm not doing comedy anymore. That's just not a thing.
They could be going down to the comedy club and getting a lot of money to do impromptu stand-up. Like, it's big money.
Well, I mean, I don't know if New York comedy clubs are big money, but I do know that a comedian like that with an agent can get gigs. And in America, they do the college circuit. In Britain, the comedy clubs pay decently. In America, the local comedy clubs don't play very well, but they do the college circuit, and that does pay very well. So at that level where they've already had a Netflix or similar special, like comedy, stand-up comedy special, and they're making a sitcom pilot. If the sitcom pilot doesn't go, you just go, that really sucks. You have a couple of weeks of feeling really down, but then you just go to clubs and you just do your old job. Who goes and works for a vet at that level? I've never heard of that. Not one of my comedy friends.
Was it because Carrie was so frightened of that dog that Che was like, I am going to do something different with my life? And
I just don't know anyone who doesn't have any savings at all at that level. Regular comedians cannot have any savings. But if you're doing telly...
To be fair, they just furnish their flat with everything that IKEA has ever sold. So that's where all their money's gone.
But they spent it all assuming their show would go. No one does that. Your show's probably not going to go. No one's show goes.
But didn't they also have the moment with Carrie in the previous episode when Carrie did the speech and Che was like, okay, I'm going to get back on the saddle. Yeah. Wasn't that meant to be the turning moment?
Yes, that's what they said. It's a great point, Syrus. They said they saw Carrie do the speech about recovering after the love of your life dies. And they said, right, if you could do that, then I can get back on the horse. And the horse they've got back on is a dog.
In a vet/shelter.
But also they're Airbnb-ing.
They're Airbnb their own flat.
That's enough money, isn't it?
But where they're gonna live?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they've got a spare. Well, they don't have a spare room. I don't know.
We know from the cameos they haven't got a spare room.
They're going to move in the vet. They're going to move in the vet.
They're going to live in the cage.
God, I can't even.
Another reason why this was a gay episode. Taylor Swift being played in the party when Charlotte was out having dinner, and the Was it Rock? It wasn't Rock, was
No,
it?
it was
Lily.
Lily.
Lily was having a party. Taylor Swift. Honestly, it was for the gays.
It was the whole of the episode was for the gays.
for the gays.
Can I ask, this is at this part, I'm not sure was for the gays. Lisa Todd Wexley became obsessed with her teenage son's sex life. So in this world, they're all pretty cool about their teenagers having sex. They all think, well, they're gonna, so we might as well, we don't want them doing it behind a bin. So yeah, yes, fine, we'll be cool with it. But she did not like her son's girlfriend being two public displays of affection in the school grounds, which one could understand perhaps. But then she became obsessed. They're going to have sex in our bed. And then she came home and found they weren't in the bed, but the girl was touching her purse and she was furious and threw her out. What do we think of this storyline?
I think she's right. That girl was hanging off his waistband in the, like she said, at 5 in the afternoon or something. And I don't know. Mums don't want to see that, do they? And like you're doing it in your bed. I loved when her husband. What's her husband's name?
Her husband's name is Chris Jackson, playing Herbert Wexley.
So when Herbert said, "Sex in our bed's one thing, but your mother's closet."
Are you insane? Or
Are
something?
you insane? Like this is you've got
Are you out of your mind, boy?
Yeah, this is the worst thing you could have done, But so I quite appreciated that. But yeah,
I thought boundaryless teenage girl whose name I've forgotten. Her hand was very close to his penis in the school at 3:30. I think it was.
Yeah,
3:30. So you were on Lisa's side.
I was.
What did you think about her booby trapping the bed?
Good work.
So good.
Good work. That little line down the pillow.
Yeah.
She was invested.
She was invested.
She was invested. Like her eyes closing the door. You see her eyes. It was good.
She's got great eyes.
What did you think
Great
of the
eyes.
line where she says she acts like he's her property? What did you think was hanging there with that? Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, because then the husband then said, but he's not your property either. So yeah, there's definitely something about like the letting go of our kids, the letting, all of the kids seem to be growing up on. There has to be an element of letting them fly a little bit, giving them freedom.
What did you think of that line, Syrus? Did you think it evoked anything?
I know I didn't know, not for me.
You know what I think?
Yeah.
What I thought. I thought it was
Yeah.
because she was a white girl and she was acting in a way that expressed an ownership that really angered Lisa, which I could understand. But then her husband said to her, but he's not your property either. Just because he's your kid, he's not your property, and he needs to be able to make his own decisions. And I thought that was a sort of interesting piece of writing because they didn't name it. It was subtextual, but I thought it was an interesting piece of writing. And I thought it was the most interesting plotline, actually, because I thought that feeling of when a baby is yours, it is yours. You have to keep it alive and you go to jail if you don't. So it is your baby. And what's the age where your baby becomes not your baby, but a whole other person from you? It's such a subtle thing that happens over a period of years. And how do you ever really let go and see your baby in a relationship where someone else is going to go, well, this is my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my spouse or whoever?
I would hope that the writing had that level of texture and subtext and that was underneath it in terms of the property thing. But
I think at least in the performance,
the
actress playing Lisa Todd Wexley, who's called Nicole Ari Parker,
Yeah.
I thought she definitely evoked it. She's a very intelligent actress, I think. And I think that was definitely there certainly would have been discussed between her and Chris Jackson, who plays her husband, that they cannot not have known that, but it wasn't laden in a way that if you could have missed it, it wasn't, it wasn't the heavy-handedness of some of the previous writing of season 1 around race. It was just very gentle, but then him saying to her, and I love their relationship. They're really
their
good.
relationship is really wonderful.
Couple,
they bounce off each other really well. I mean, also, they can't stop their kid having sex for long because they'll find somewhere else to do it.
The Mandarin Oriental.
They're so
rich.
I mean, because they're so rich, exactly. They're like,
Blair's dad has got us the Mandarin Oriental so we can shag on Valentine's Day. And how old can they be? They look 17.
Well, if they're at school.
Surely not 17.
they're
Surely.
Yeah.
I think they're like 17, 18.
Well, they're going to go to a McDonald's toilet and do it if they can't do it at the Mandarin.
Is that what you did it?
Well, I just think, where they're going to do it somewhere, they're going to want to do it,
Yeah.
And if they keep restricting them, Wouldn't you rather do it at a hotel or at home where they're safe than, behind the bike sheds?
Yeah, I would, but I don't know that that's everybody's experience. It's just, It seems like all the parents in Sex and the City are really cool with it, whereas I think my experience, but maybe this is just how it is now and everyone is really cool with it.
It's like smoking. When I was young, my mum said, if you're going to smoke, I'd rather you do it here, because
I'd rather watch you get cancer.
I'd rather watch you get cancer.
That's not the same at all.
Because if I don't let you do it, you're going to go, and do it anyway somewhere else.
I think that's true of drinking, and it's because then you can see someone drinks moderately, and it's true of sex because you can get
to see your son get smashed.
But
I'd rather you get absolutely smashed here with me.
Exactly. I'd rather you shoot up on the living room table, on the
I'd
dining room
rather you get
table.
absolutely stoned so I can make you some feed your munches, make you homemade
Exactly. Homemade munches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
indeed.
I hope
if you're going to build nuclear weapons, just do it where I can see it. That's all I'm asking.
you're going to
Deal arms by all means, but don't deal arms behind my back.
Do it the Mandarin Oriental.
But I hope it is an indication of how they're going to handle the subject of race moving forward in terms of the subjects and texts and storylines.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice.
Yeah.
I hope season 4.
Yeah. That was an interesting storyline to me, and I think it was a good comedy twist. That look, I'd rather have sex in my bed than touch my handbags.
That was brilliant.
I kind of get it. And finally, what did we think of Aidan? Wants to see her. When they first hug, I have to say I had a feeling when they first hugged. It really took me back. It was the big feelings.
Yeah.
And it was a lovely moment to see them back together. And then, even though, she was absolutely torturous to him when they were together, it still was lovely. Sentimentality. This whole show is sentimentality. Let's be honest. It wouldn't have got commissioned if it hadn't had the legacy. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But then they get to the apartment. He's like, oh my God, you still live here? And this is so many memories for him of the first time when he stripped her floors, she went and stripped for Big. That's how it happened. That's how that affair started. He came to strip her floors. And she was like, I'm on a deadline. I'll go around to a hotel around the corner, and Big turned up. And then he knocks the wall down. He was going to buy the second apartment. He did buy the second apartment so they could have a bigger space. And she couldn't handle it and told him to go. Now he's standing there. Do you buy that he could not go in because of the bad memories of the house?
Yeah, I do. I think I did in that moment because, he's having a lovely time and he's getting swept away by. He's in love with her, isn't he? He's in love with her. He probably, it's probably the one that got away. Yeah, he's just. You can see it, and I think that it just hit him then that. The history, and I think that just in that moment flooded back, and he just thought, "Oh God, I can see what's going to happen here. I'm going to get hurt." I think it was his signals of going, "You're going to get hurt again. You're going to get hurt again." I think,
and he's only been divorced 5 years, so that's still probably pretty. Thank God it's not. He's in a divorce now because that would be awful. But like 5 years is long enough that you can see him moving on. But also that's got to be fresh.
I bought that.
Yeah.
I didn't buy the fact they were in a taxi driving to this apartment. Like he would know that route quite well. Like, didn't it dawn on him before then? Is there no conversation? Where are you living now?
Yeah, but men can't offer multitask. I can't have a conversation and look out the window and know where I'm going. So I think that's
maybe
fair.
they were making out in the cab.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Making
Okay, so you bought the geography for $300. You didn't.
I didn't buy the geography.
But then they get out and he goes, I can't do it. What I will say is I need to tell you this. It's important. My husband, Tom Selinsky, said to me this week, my experience with Sex and the City is first thinking, oh God, what's this? Then I guess if Deborah's watching it with such enthusiasm, I better try and get on board. And then the next step was, she can't be with him. He's totally wrong for her. And he had this memory of Aidan shouting out the window to Carrie when she comes back and says, take me back. You broke my fucking heart. And it really affected Tom, demonstrating that the original Sex and the City was so well written, it could even penetrate a straight man. Did all the feels of the Aidan relationship come back for you when you saw them outside together? What are you hoping for now with Aidan and Carrie?
I have to be honest, I don't remember.
I don't care.
I have to be honest.
Bring back the bread basket.
Bring back the bread basket. Yeah. That's what I'm here for, Deborah. No, I don't remember it that because I was never a super fan. I got into it late and then went back and watched things. So really, for me, I do remember it, but it was so long ago. I haven't recapped the old series, so I think they just did a great job with this in that moment of where they're at in their life now, and then the turnaround was quite quick from him going, I don't want to come into. I'm going to come in. I thought that was quite quick, but all what they were evoking in that moment.
I'm worried for Aiden because I think she's hurt him.
So significantly.
And she only has sex on a Thursday.
Yeah.
He's not going to be down with that.
I'm worried that I'm worried he's gonna get hurt.
You're worried that he's coming back for more, and he's a fool to himself if she hurts him again, because she has demonstrated that is what she does.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the reason she kept hurting him before was that she was always really in love with Big. Big is in fact dead.
He's dead.
So, the only thing is, do you think that like being second best, like he knows he's second best? He's read the book. He's literally read a book about.
Oh, that just made my tummy go funny when you said that. Because that's so true. He knows that, even though Big's gone, he knows that.
But that's some interesting writing could come up about if John were here, would you be with me?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. You're only with me because John's not here, whereas you were always my number one and you ultimately wouldn't have me. And so I married someone else. And the reason my marriage broke down is ultimately she wasn't you. And that kept coming between us. So you're my number one and I'm your number two. Can I be happy with that? That's a storyline I'd love to see, whether or not Aiden can come to terms with being the new number one by default because someone died on a Peloton.
Maybe Aiden turned up and says, is this where you live? Because he thought she'd inherited loads of money and lived in a big plush flat. and when he got there, I was like, is this where you live? Like, come on. That's why the turnaround was quick.
That's so funny.
He was
he's like, oh, I thought that bastard left you.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to come back here to this crappy place?
Yeah,
oh, no.
Absolutely. With that yellow shelf. No, I'll do it for $300.
He was expecting to be somewhere like she bought, but couldn't live because it was too high tech.
Yeah. But I think, if the writing went down that route, I think that would be really interesting.
I think so. I think there could be some interesting storylines here about evoking your youth. Do you regress? Does she regress to 35-year-old Carrie? Because you do regress when you're with people, don't you think? When you're with your college friends, uni friends, school friends, home for Christmas, any of those things. Do you guys ever experience a regression where you suddenly become like you were?
Yeah, like when you just fall into that banter, that humor with people. Yeah, all the time.
I think we're hitting a point now in this where it's quite exciting with this show. I think this episode ended on a really exciting, sort of a pivotal moment for a lot of the characters. So I think what's to come is going to be really exciting for them.
Do you think this is how season 1 should have started? I think season 1 should have started with Big died 5 years ago. She's out the other side.
No.
She's grieving. She has sex with 3 men so that we can have some fun. And then she texts Aiden.
I loved the fact that it started how it did because I didn't see it coming, and I don't think anyone else did. And I think it was like, they can't be doing this. They can't be writing this. They can't bring him in for this short time. It was heartbreaking. And I think that was an excellent way to start the whole thing about her grieving and how, I think it was a complete shocker. Personally, I
think we should just be grateful with the clumsy race storytelling that we didn't end up, on them celebrating Black History Month or with Carrie with her hair in braids.
Oh my God.
I think let's just be grateful for what they didn't do.
Yes, yeah. Carrie marrying a black man just so that she can demonstrate that she likes equal rights.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, indeed.
I think it's mirroring the world. I think it was very undiverse in terms of who the leads were and who the storylines were in the OG. And then we had 2020 and we all know what happened then. And series 1, and then just like that was like November 2020, where everyone was just kind of like, got to talk about it. And, brands were kind of saying they're fully behind diversity, and then you look at their boards and who they employ and they weren't. So that was kind of series 1, and series 2, it's kind of settling. And as we said, the Black characters are getting normal storylines as opposed to being specifically about their race. And then we're getting layered moments, like you said, about the property. So I think it's finding its way. But I think it goes back to my point earlier about I think there is a big educational piece with this show. They're trying to educate certain people who are really in the dark with this sort of stuff. So, but I like it when it's more subtle.
Now, is there anything about this week's episode or Sex and the City and Just Like That at all that you came to say that you didn't get to say? Anything that you were dying to say off this week's episode?
I thought until we got here, this was a podcast about Succession. No, I've said all I want to say, and I'm just enjoying it episode by episode.
I just want to say that I think I've said it actually, that Sarah Jessica Parker I think she's a great actress. And I really enjoy watching what she does on it. I think she does beautiful work.
Well, if you're listening, Sarah Jessica Parker, as I can only assume you are, Lee would love to be in an episode of Sex and the City and will worship you for any time.
$300.
$300 he'll
Sold.
charge.
No buyout.
Sold.
$300 and he doesn't want residuals.
And a hot fella's best.
And a hot fella. Would you do it for a hot fella's play suit and $300?
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, it's a better deal than you're going to get. What I've just heard is he's going to cross the picket line in order to do a bottle episode, just you and Lee talking. He'll be in a hot fella's uniform the whole time. You'll be doing your subtle acting. It's going to be the greatest episode that anybody's never seen. Any hopes or dreams for Carrie and Aidan or anybody else in the show?
Well, I hope they don't get a Peloton. They should stay well away from that.
Stay well away from the Peloton.
I don't know.
I really hope we don't have any teenage pregnancy storylines.
Oh.
Because I'm not currently convinced the writers are going to handle that well.
Yeah, well, how could they? Because Charlotte will walk through a literal snowstorm to bring you condoms. There could be one actually with Brady. He's quite off the rails, isn't he?
He is.
He's not reacting well to anything.
No.
He isn't a very pleasant person.
Is he in Europe? No. He's come back from Europe?
No, he's come back. His mum flew over to New York, but he sort of says fuck you to his parents the whole time and says, oh, you fucked me up because you got divorced. He's not none of the kids in this are very pleasant to their parents. They're, I think, probably quite nice people to other people, but not to their parents, as is often the way, I suppose. Thank you so much for coming over. This is my favourite thing to do, is to discuss And Just Like That with wonderful friends who are happy to treat it like family at Christmas by criticising it roundly while enjoying it the whole time. You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist Watchers and Just Like That with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guests, Syrus, Lowe and Lee Knight. The producer for The Spontaneity Shop was Tom Salinsky. The Guilty Feminist is part of the Acast Creator Network, and Just Like That is on Max in the United States and Sky Comedy and now in the UK. See you next time for episode 8, 100 years ago.
I am a true artist, so I would have turned down the £300.
Sorry. What are you saying, Tom?
You go a bit closer to the mic.
No, but the mic can get closer to me. Okay, yeah.
That's right.
Sorry. Would you?
We communicate non-verbally. So
No, it's fine.
yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. The Guilty Feminist is provided exclusively from Acast. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.